The drones of the 110th Separate Mechanized Brigade defeated the Russian forces in the Pokrovsk area. The destruction of Russian hardware was carried out using FPV drones, which, thanks to the powerful warhead of drone-carried munition, effectively disabled it. Among the large number of destroyed vehicles, the UAV battalion destroyed 2 BMP, 2 infantry fighting vehicles with troops inside. The destruction of the hardware occurred during an attempt by the Russians to prepare for an assault on the unit's position, which also involved the usage of 1 tank. Despite this, the Russian assault completely failed. Thanks to the timely detection of the enemy and the prompt actions of the UAV battalion, the occupiers quickly began to suffer losses. A Russian tank was also destroyed, which was supposed to support the infantry with covering fire from the main gun. After the destruction of the main forces, the remnants of the enemy armored vehicles have been abandoned, and some have been left behind in the forest. It should be noted that the Russians are throwing considerable effort into the assaults on Ukrainian positions, which are taking place on a variety of scales, both in small groups and large mechanized assaults. Earlier, Militarny reported that a Russian assault group on all-terrain vehicles had been defeated by cluster munitions, mortars, SPGs, and drones in the Pokrovsk sector. After the unsuccessful initial phase of the assault, the artillery of the 59th Separate Motorized Infantry Brigade, named after Yakov Handziuk, fired cluster munitions at the Russians. The enemy infantry continued to clump in the wooded area, and the Presidential Brigade's firepower continued to fire for effect. Meanwhile, a separate Presidential Brigade defeated the invaders' assault units near Vuhledar, where the enemy planned to launch a major offensive. In this area, the Russians attempted a massive mechanized assault involving a significant number of military vehicles and tanks. Thanks to the 3rd Mechanized Battalion's aerial reconnaissance, the military was able to detect the enemy equipment in a timely manner and quickly prepare to repulse the assault and destroy it. FPV drones became the main means of defeating Russian military equipment, effectively hitting armored vehicles at considerable distances from Ukrainian positions. Thanks to the work of the operators of the Bulava strike UAVs of the 3rd Mechanized Battalion and the Chimera strike UAVs of the 20th Separate Special Operations Battalion of the Separate Presidential Brigade, enemy assault units began to suffer losses before they even approached the positions of the Ukrainian defenders. FPV drone pilots from the 194th Pontoon and Bridge Brigade of the State Transport Special Service also participated in destroying the enemy. In total, the enemy suffered losses of 20 destroyed combat vehicles, including infantry fighting vehicles, armored personnel carriers, trucks, and tanks. As a reminder, a unit of the Separate Presidential Brigade has recently successfully stopped an assault by Russian troops in the Pokrovsk sector. The 21st Separate Special Forces Battalion participated in fighting off the assault, working with the 46th Separate Airmobile Brigade and the 59th Separate Motorized Infantry Battalion. Today, there are many updates from the Lyman direction in Donetsk Oblast. In a decisive move, the Ukrainian command redeployed elite forces to stabilize the situation near Nevsky, countering a significant Russian push. This swift maneuver enabled a successful counterattack, allowing Ukraine to regain control of key positions and blunt the Russian advance toward the village of Torska. Recent first-person footage from this operation revealed intense clashes and dramatic scenes as Ukrainian soldiers dismounted from M113 armored personnel carriers and stormed Russian positions, first in forested areas and then in Nevsky village itself. Among other interesting details, the footage highlights the extensive use of drones in commanding and directing Ukrainian assaults, showcasing their technological integration in tactical operations. As a result, the successful undermining of Russian operations in Nevsky allowed Ukrainian forces to concentrate resources more effectively against Russian attacks near Torska. Geolocated footage from the 60th Mechanized Brigade's drone operators in Nevsky documented successful strikes against Russian tank crews and infantry from the 37th Motorized Rifle Regiment and 19th Tank Regiment. These precision drone attacks east of Torska village demonstrated the continuing effectiveness of Ukrainian drone warfare in this sector.